Hello everyone, Road to Super Bowl Season 2, your 2024 NFL preview is here. We are here with 22nd episode with the Houston Texans. And let's dive into this, right? So, how about them Texans, right? Best team in the area? Alright, so I will start this with admitting that I was dead as wrong. When the Texans traded up to take Will Anderson last draft, I was like, bro, what the hell are you doing? I do understand the potential of this guy, I do understand the quality, but you are giving way too freaking much for him, especially when you are adding the first round draft pick from next year, aka this year's draft, that is supposed to be, and quite frankly it was, one of the best drafts that we've seen in a while. So giving up so much to get him, it felt ridiculous to me. I felt like Cardinals absolutely won the trade, and like this year when we have Bears picking number one despite finishing with a really good record, I thought this would actually be a possibility, but not for Panthers to stink that bad. But I thought the Texans might be the team that would deliver Cardinals the first overall pick that would just absolutely make me hate everything, because with them obviously not having Kyler Murray for the start of the season, it was like, yeah, they are not going to be good, yeah? And if the Texans would give them like top 5 pick, which was like everybody expected Texans to be like a bottom 5 despite having CJ Stroud, despite having Will Anderson, it would be still bad. I was really worried about that. So thank you Texans for being really good and making me look like a fool. Well, frankly, I wasn't alone, but yeah, you were right. Demikoro, you were freaking right by getting Will Anderson. And still, it feels like you gave up so much, but you knew why, and it showed. And the thing with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson that I will talk about at the beginning, because they are this team's future and present, and I think that present part was not something I expected. And what I mean by that is not only their performance on the field, but from what I heard, pretty much immediately after those guys were drafted, they were like connected through some messages and stuff, and like, well, we are not coming in as rookies, we are coming in as leaders. This team depends on us, this team invested in us, we are going to be leaders of this team. And for what it's worth, they are leading by example. So kudos to Will Anderson, kudos to CJ Stroud, kudos to D'Amico Ryans, and pretty much the whole organization for having the balls to pull this one off and be right. So I was wrong, you were right, and now let's deep dive into this Texans offseason. So obviously the season ended on really high note, finishing top 8, losing divisional round, and having offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie in players that we already talked about with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. I think one of the keys for this team actually was their ability to hold on to Bobby Slovic in offseason, because I think he done a really great job for this team as the offensive coordinator, and there were rumors that he might be leaving for a head coaching job as early as after one season. So good for the Texans, they are not losing him. And now let's check their draft. And to be frank, I was not impressed. First of all, they made a deal to trade out from the first round with the Vikings. I don't think they necessarily gotten any like exceptional compensation. It felt like really good trade for both sides. If anyone was like the beneficiary, I would say it was Vikings, which is weird if they are the team that are moving up. So yeah, not necessarily absolutely sure about that trade. And also when I look at this draft, I was kind of unimpressed. So let's dive into this. Cameron Lassiter, Blake Fisher, Kalen Bullock. So let's start with Blake and Kalen. I feel like for both of them, I've had them, let's say, 10 to 20 places lower than they were actually picked. I do not mind the spot. I don't mind the positions in terms of like what Texans need. I would say they are like smart, not flashy options with slight reach. With Blake Fisher, I get it more because there was like a lot of tackles being drafted a bit earlier than I would expect. So it was like, yeah, we need to get this like tier 2 offensive lineman. Otherwise, we are not getting anyone from that tier 2, tier 3 even, because they were going like really early. And with Kalen Bullock, feels a bit worse because he's a safety, not necessarily a position that any other teams like any teams put super high premiums on. So yeah, but still, it's like okay-ish pick to me. Like my standard grade, if I'm okay with everything, is B. C plus is like, yeah, reaches, but nothing super bad. With Cameron Lassiter, this is a good pick. Like this is a really good pick. Like I don't have anything against him. Value of the position is there. It's really the area that I would imagine him going. The kind of the only knock for him is Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry like went 1 and 2 spots ahead of him. So I would say if they get their choose from the 3, they would not pick Camry for this defense. But that's like only thing. Real negative. I think it's a fine pick. But again, like the common theme for the whole draft is solid, but kind of like meh. The only guy that I'm actually like excited about as I think is a value is Kate Stover, and it's just because this landing spot I think gives him a really nice chance to start as of right now, and in the long term he's gonna be projected as the number 2 tight end for this team. That again, if I had like Blake Fisher around 70, 75, for me Kate Stover was about that 105, 110 rank on my, let's say, draft board. With Jamal Hill, Javar Jordan, or Solomon Bird, Marcus Harris, or Ladarius Henderson, I don't have much to say. Like, really nothing that caught my eyes on these guys. You know, not necessarily guys that I not expected not to be drafted, but not anyone that I feel like should have like a super bright future for this team or emerge as a star in the future. If out of these 5 guys, if you get like 2 rotational pieces, I think you are okay with that, and that's the potential for these guys. So really nothing special to say. So overall, this draft was kind of like, you know, after really going for it with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, this was kind of reserved draft. Really like adding depth in some positions, you know, that number 3, number 4 guys, you know, running backs, linebackers, tight ends, with only kind of like Kate Stover, Camry, and Blake Fisher. Like these 4 picks, they have chance to like play some games. I think Camry is even slated to be a starter. So yeah, they could get with 1 starter for this year's team, which for a team that still felt like had some holes, or like you are not fixing that team with 1 year, despite Nick Ryan's doing exceptional job with that. It doesn't feel like that's way too much. But I don't see any like super problems with that. Like you are getting your backup tackle, you are getting your backup safety, you are getting your number 2, number 3 tight end. So yeah, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. It's just reserved. It's nothing that you are jumping out of the window. Nothing that like a casual fan is going to be like super excited. At the same time, it's smart. It's kind of, yeah, we understand, you know, where we are. We need to fill out the roster with some quite nice talent, and we've managed to do this. So good draft, but nothing you will be super excited about. And now let's check this offense. And it's going to be run by Bobby Slovic. And with me grading him B-, it's like, yes, it seems a bit low for like that I even praised him before now. And this has two reasons. First of all, the run game was kind of ugly still, and we will see if he can like bring some better concept, because it just like they were not really executing well. Not necessarily they have enough talent to execute amazingly. Like their run blocking is really bad. So there is a reason why the run game didn't look very well. But still, there is some things left to be desired. And also, like, this was his first year play calling. So I usually would start on him last year as a kind of C- or C. So even getting to B- after year one is really, really good. It also says there is a shit ton of really great offensive coordinators / head coaches that oversees the offense. So for Bobby to get B-, I don't think is any... It should not be viewed negatively. I definitely feel like he can end up this year as B+ or even A- offensive coordinator, which, you know, like, just give me more sample size, improve running game, and let's roll. So that's Bobby Slovic for you. Absolutely exceptional hire that done last season. And a guy that you just, I mean, for like a Texans fans, it would be like, let's just not look way too good, okay? Let's not make him the top candidate for a head coaching job. So, you know, maybe that could be a plan as well. But let's start and see what he has to work with in terms of personnel. And we obviously start with CJ Stroud. So CJ, the best rookie season for a QB that we've seen, probably, for me, for sure. But let's just pump brakes just a little bit on CJ Stroud, because I've seen in some conversations putting him against like over guys like Jalen Hurts, over guys like Trevor Lawrence, and it's not close like what they're saying. I'm like, no. Jalen Hurts is a better QB right now. Trevor Lawrence, I think, is kind of on the same level. I would probably still rank him slightly higher than CJ Stroud. But that's not knock on CJ Stroud. Like, year one, he played like a borderline top 10 QB in the league. And as of right now, I would rank him as the definitely like top 15. That's exceptional, man. Like, be super happy about this. Like, there is just sky's the limit for this kid. And the fact that, you know, some people have audacity to like say that there are better QBs than CJ Stroud, so don't worry about that. Like, that's probably true as of right now, but that should not worry this team, because CJ can move to amazing starter within this year for sure. Will he crack the elite starter? That's, you know, like, he has a potential to crack it within his rookie deal. Like, that's as high praise as I can give to anyone. What do you want me to say? Like, he is really, 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 really good, but please just don't say or don't put him on pedestal as of right now. Be excited. If you want to pretty much like sign him, you know, you cannot do it after year two, but you are pretty much like 95% certain that they will extend him as of right. Like, after year one, you are almost certain. Like, barring some injuries, barring some absolute lumps, they will extend him. He is the franchise QB for this team, and he is a guy that we should be excited to watch 15 years from now to be exceptional for this league. Just give some space towards like film, towards snaps. We need to see more from him to put him into top 5 conversations, please. But CJ, exceptional. And one thing, I remember watching last year's draft, and you know, a lot of players come in and say, like, I'm thankful to my family, I'm thankful to my team, my coaches, I'm thankful to God. And CJ was was one of these guys. But with him, I was kind of like, Boy, oh boy, I actually believe him. Like, it doesn't feel like it's something that he rehearsed. It felt like something that really comes from him. And I mean, for Texans fans, like going from Deshaun Watson and his off-field issues to CJ Stroud, I think could be like what kind of JJ Watt was for this team, like in terms of really this shining presence of good character. Wow, you need to be super excited. In terms of backups, Davis Mills, Case Keenum, good backup room. Like if anything happens to CJ, you should not be like super worried. You have a mentor. You still have like a guy that perhaps has a potential to be a decent starter in Davis Mills. So really good room, even in terms of backups. A definite plus for this team that sky is the limit for CJ Stroud. And now let's check the running game. That was not really what this team was known for and does not necessarily aim to be even this season, but they hope to be better. And what I mean better, like if they are going to be like 20th most effective running game in the league, I think they would be happy. I think Joe Mixon over Devin Singletary is an upgrade, though he is getting up there in age. He was kind of a workhorse for the Bengals, so you need to watch. There could be a decline for him, though I think he's still really good running back. With Dameon Pierce, you have a solid backup option, solid guy that should, handle this split like 70-30, something like that. With him, the running game should be still good enough in a way. And then you have to mention Dare Ogunbowale, who not only that is this team probably third choice in terms of running back, but he was able to kick some balls last year when I think it was their kicker who got hurt. And he might be like a secret option to even replace Kaimi Fairbairn with the new kickoff structure rules. If you want a guy that won't be able to kick it that well, but will be able to tackle, I would not be surprised if they will put him out there instead of Kaimi Fairbairn with his 50 or 60 kilos or whatever he weighs, because he should not be tackling anyone. You don't want that. You want him healthy, right? So really not exciting running back room. But with Joey Mixon, and when I said like 20th best, because I'm including an O-line. Like in terms of the room, this is actually quite a nice room. With CJ Stroud, he gives you something in terms of mobility. It's not necessarily great, but it's not bad. Joe Mixon gives you really like somewhere about the top 15 as your number one guy. With Dameon Pierce, you have nice option in terms of backup. So it's in terms of like runners of the ball, this is neutral to slightly plus room for his team. Now let's shift towards receivers, and I'm prepared to get some, I wouldn't say hate, I don't expect hate, but some question marks about having Nico Collins ranked below Stephon Diggs. And there could be some questions like why is Stephon Diggs not elite anymore? Okay, so how to address that? Well, I still think Stephon Diggs is pretty damn good. But we've seen him slow down last year. He was not as effective as you would hope for him. And the fact that Bills kind of really was prepared to end it was not necessarily only about his antics. It was a lot about his antics off the field, but it was about his performance on the field that definitely knocked him from that elite receiver status for me for sure. And Nico Collins, he was exceptional last season. To me, he will make that amazing starter within the first 3 weeks. The only thing that holds me back is I want to see him back out there. Like he was struggling with some injuries. I want him back. I want him to show. And could he actually be the guy that, like from these two, if I would choose who I believe that has better chance to reach elite status for this season, I would say it's Nico Collins. Though, as of right now, I think Stephon Diggs is closer. I would say Nico Collins still has that potential, while with Stephon Diggs, I don't see him coming back towards that status. But nevertheless, you should be absolutely freaking excited about these two guys. With Stephon Diggs, you should be getting, if you can handle him, still like 10 to 15 best wide receiver in the league. And with Nico Collins, 15 to 20 as of right now, with huge potential to climb up even like 7 to 10. Like he has that in him. Especially with the connection with CJ Stroud that looked exceptional last season. But the good news doesn't stop there, because Tank Dell, he also looked amazing before his injury. So, boy oh boy, like if the defenses need to now focus on even Stephon Diggs, like this trio is definitely out there for competition to be the best trio in the league. And the crazy thing is, for Nico Collins and Tank Dell, both of these guys, they should only get better. They should get better. And with Stephon Diggs, you cannot rule it out that he can still be the guy. So can they, like I would say within reasonable realm of possibility, I will still be on it. They could end up having a lead starter and two amazing starters within these two guys at the end of the year. That could happen. And I cannot rule that out. Like, I would say there's more than 20% that this happens this season. I have this much faith in these guys. So, if you should be excited, hell yeah, you should be freaking excited, because this passing game could be the best in the league in terms of like rankings of the players as of end of the season. Because amazing starter from CJ Stroud, two amazing starters here, and one elite. That could happen easily. Not easily, not easily, but reasonably. This could definitely happen. Good thing is, it doesn't even end there, because you have really, really nice depth with Noah Brown, with Robert Woods and GMaty. With Noah Brown, actually, was he cut? Okay. Noah Brown. Did they let him go? Yeah, they actually let him go. That's insane. Like, letting go Noah Brown feels insane. Because to me, for a lot of teams, he would be their like number 3 option that they would be happy with. As of right now, he's been a replacement to Jahan Dotson that's been brought to the Commanders for free, because Texans let him go. It's interesting, like, I did not expect this, but it kind of says to you how much they are like, how power is in this wide receivers, because like letting Noah Brown go, like that's insane. And for Commanders, it's actually really nice that they got something for Jahan Dotson and are replacing him with Noah Brown. And I think like for this season, they are not necessarily losing anything and get some draft capital from this, so I like that move from the Commanders as well. It's weird that they kind of could not execute trading Noah Brown as well, because I think he should fetch you like at least a 6th rounder. Okay, this was the decision. They also let go Ben Skowronek, who I'm not even having in. Again, it felt like a fit that they could be like in 11 personnel with Skowronek, who is like this big body type and like force defense to go lighter, and then run the ball with Skowronek being more of almost like a tight end out there. But they even let him go, and still that 5 is Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, and GMaty. Like, come on, like this should be like that's insane wide receiver group. And you can say like why I'm only ranking them B+. Well, because here we talk about guys as of right now. I definitely see myself ranking them A+, end of the season. But that's the potential. For right now, B+, it's really exceptional grade. That's not many groups that are ranked better than this. So this is really nice. Also, one of the problems is like you don't have exceptional tight ends. I would say Dalton Schultz is like really good, middle of the road type of tight end with Brevin Jordan and Case Torres, like cool backups. My apologies for Brevin Jordan and his incorrect numbers. So obviously Dalton Schultz. Yeah, sorry, sometimes it really happens. Way too many cards. I know it should not be an excuse, but I hope you will forgive this. Now, not forget this. You don't have to forget, but please forgive me. Okay, this is a tight end room that doesn't bring you like plus towards this offense or towards this passing game, but it doesn't hold you back. And that's cool. It's good. You are absolutely okay with that. Now let's shift our focus towards the offensive line. And there are some question marks with this group. To put it like fairly, I wouldn't say slightly, because it's not a bad room. Like it's not bad assemblance of talent, but it's not even average in a way. So let's start with Laramie Tunsil. By far your best piece. He is franchise left tackle, he is exceptional pass blocker. You would wish that he was a better run blocker. He's good at it, but leaves something to be desired. Was struggling with some injuries last year. So you hope he's going to give you like the full season, because this offensive line needs it. In terms of right tackle, you have your Titus Howard, who is the guy that you are not excited and you're kind of like hoping that eventually you get something better, but he deserves to be a starter in the league. Like he is probably like the bottom 5 starter or bottom 7 in terms of right tackles, but he is up there with 32 best right tackles in the league. With Blake Fisher, I think you are hoping and striving for that eventually, like within a year or two, he can replace Titus Howard. So this room, nothing to be super worried. You have your really good guy in Tunsil, and some depth and a starter in Titus Howard. Where the problem lies, like other backups you have for interior and tackle, is Charlie Heck and Kendrick Green. That's not that much. And then you go interior, and they should be starting Kenyon Green as a left guard, Juice Cracks as a center, and Shaq Mason as your right guard. So let's start with a good player in Shaq Mason. He's a good player. Will he still hold this mark do I expect him to hold on to this mark towards later in the season? No, I think he's declining. I think the age is slightly getting into him. It should be something like the Titus Howard for this team and the end of the season or during the season. Like guys that you are not super worried that are out there. They are deserve the spot to be a starters in the NFL, but they are slight negative towards your offensive line. And the problem is, that's by far your best interior piece. Like by far. You know, like there's 2 levels at least between him and Juice Cracks and Kenyon Green. One good thing that you can say about both these guys, like they should be improving. Like they are not maxed out, or they should not be maxed out. But they are starting as good backups, and like I'm not saying I'm like super confident that they are like upper echelon good backups, like really guys that I expect within like 4 weeks to promote to decent starters. With neither one of these guys, I don't necessarily expect that. So if they end up being decent starters at the end of the year, okay, that's probably like the most common trajectory for both of these guys. Like, is it something you are excited about? No, and it could also go really poorly. You don't necessarily have backup options. Like, you know, Kendrick Green, like he played some. If Kenyon Green is not up to par, like okay, can insert him in. And as of right now, he should be like on similar level. But this could be problematic. Like, good thing is, like, Brock Purdy kind of manages very similar O-line and has really not similar weapons in terms of like skill sets, but in terms of quality. There is a team out there that can live with very similarly like poor-ish O-line in terms of we have our franchise left tackle, though Trent Williams is obviously better than Larry Tunsil, and then the rest is kind of meh. And we have young QB behind this with a lot of talent in terms of our wide receivers, in terms of our tight ends. Obviously, there is more talent in San Fran. There is CMC. There is George Kittle. You don't have that type of running backs. You don't have this type of tight end. Though, in terms of wide receivers, the talent is better here. You can have a conversation if you have better faith in Brock Purdy or CJ Stroud. It could be an interesting one, actually. Let me know down in the comment, like, who do you think, as of right now, is a better QB, whether it's Brock Purdy or CJ Stroud. It's probably going to end up like whose fans will arrive to this. So obviously CJ Stroud has bigger chance because we are talking Texans here, but I think there is some way to like handle this. But this O-line is worrying. Like you can see, I've ranked them D+, one of the worst run blocking units out there. In terms of pass blocking, they are decent. And one thing is, like, you're not Pittsburgh, like, where you're starting like 3 rookies or 2 rookies, and you have really exciting rookie as your first backup. I mean, you hope that Skaggs and Green can make it, but like, this can turn out. Like, Shaq Mason and Titus Howard can both decline within this year, and you can end up having like amazing starter, good backup, solid backup, decent starter, good backup type of O-line. That's not a winning formula. So obviously you cannot fix everything. Like 2 years back, this team was one of the worst, if not the worst in the NFL. So like this is not a criticism of what the GM is doing or for like, absolutely not. This is a part of the team that has problems and is kind of, if they go south, this should probably be a reason why. Now let's flip towards defensive side of the ball. DeMeco Ryans, boy oh boy, huge kudos to you, man. Like this is well earned, well deserved, absolutely. Like a guy that, if like a year ago, if Pete Carroll was about to end his Seahawks career, I would be rooting for DeMeco Ryans to take over the reins. And it's not necessarily like standard that you are praying for defensive-minded head coach to take over the reins. But with DeMeco Ryans, like, man, what is there not to like? He's exceptional defensive coordinator / overseer of the defense. He's, I would say, such a quality person. Like, I cannot say good. He's such a quality person, such a leader. He has obviously shit ton of experience from the field where he was also exceptional. He comes back to a team that drafted him, takes over that, and from like within 1 year makes them from bottom 5 team that pretty much everybody had them even after Will Anderson draft to top 8 in terms of results and let's say top 14 in terms of performance. What is there to say? Like, if there is, he is definitely one of the 3 candidates, especially from like that young tier of young head coaches that can reach that A+, that I think I've reserved for no one but Bill Belichick, that is no longer with us in terms of NFL coaches, like starting coaches. like active coaches, yeah, active coaches, not starting. He can reach the status, and again, like you are a quality person, and you can reach the status. So I can give you higher compliment from personal point of view, or from my analytic point of view. Houston, you should treasure him. I would not be surprised if he's next Mike Tomlin, next Bill Belichick, next Pete Carroll, and this is his team for next 20 years. I will not be surprised. I truly won't. So let's now check what he has to work with. And obviously, he is starting to recreate this defense the way he wants to. That's why they even let a guy like Jonathan Grenard, who a lot of people were like, well, he's good. He was not necessarily a good listener to what DeMeco Ryans want, and was like, okay, I want a different piece for this defensive line. But the line starts with Will Anderson, Defensive Rookie of the Year, really exceptional. Similar to like Aiden Hutchinson type of rookie season, perhaps even slightly better. Or like I think they are really on a similar trajectory. You expect him to continue to grow. You can see his captaincy. Like I said, him and CJ Stroud really entered the room, not as rookies, but as leaders. Show it on and on off the field. And like sky's the limit for Will Anderson and DeMeco Ryans. And like put it back to Bobby Slovic and the offense. The fact that he has CJ Stroud, if he can kind of be like, alright, let's at least be here for the whole duration of his rookie deal, because that's definitely a timeline in which we can absolutely win Super Bowl. I want to be here for that period of time. If they manage to like talk Bobby Slovic into this, DeMeco Ryans, like that would be insane, man. But I think that's a route to like keep a guy like Bobby Slovic in the building for several years, not only like this year, and probably very well because he would be offered head coaching job. Like there is a way how to keep him, and I think that's CJ Stroud. That's the reason why he could spend like next few years in Texans with Texans. Now let's move to other parts, and they were like, okay, let's bring us a star player, a guy that I think DeMeco will have so much fun working with, because with Danny Harton, he is freaking smart, and you've seen it with the Vikings. Like, is he the elite guy? No, he is not, and he probably won't ever be. And 18 sacks, I know it looks insane. It's a lot of like Brian Flores job. Like, he is at the right spot at the right time, as he's told by Brian Flores. And now that's going to happen exactly the same way with DeMeco. So it's exceptional that they've managed to land Daniel Hunter, because I think he's going to be really great piece for DeMeco. And like on one side you have to worry about Will Anderson, on the other side Daniel Hunter. Good freaking luck. And it's not like they necessarily don't have other pieces with Derek Barnett, DeMeco Autry. They also like consider DeMeco Autry like putting him more inside, because that's where the quality is kind of like not necessarily exceptional, but he will be out for several games. He's suspended. I'm not sure if it's 4 games or 6 games. 6 game. Yeah, performance enhancing drugs policy. Okay, that's a bit of an issue, but he should be back for when it matters. So you are not like super worried about him. Derek Barnett, obviously, really veteran guy that you are super happy to have here. He's going to do exactly what DeMeco will want from him. He obviously doesn't have any crazy upside, but as your number 3, number 4 guy, you are absolutely thrilled with it. So in terms of edge, this team is truly great, very well assembled, one of the best out there, with a potential with Will Anderson to reach like top 5 rooms easily within this year, and like even top 3. And is top 1 really out of the question? Boy, it's not. Let's put it this way. What it's out of the question is as a D-line as a whole. Like in terms of edge rushers, I think that's a possibility. In terms of D-line as a whole, there is a hole, and that hole is defensive tackles and like interior of this defensive line. They brought Fatukasi, who will do his job. He will be okay. Mario Edwards, Tim Settle, they're all going to be kind of like okay-ish. But, well, two of them will have to start, which as of right now should be Mario Edwards and Fatukasi, so they will be like bottom 7 starting tackle duo in the league, and there is not really any expectation that that's going to improve. So that could be an issue for this D-line. I think the plan will be, well, you guys just try to hold your own, be a slight negative, and we will try to break loose Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson to do their thing and just absolutely crush the offensive lines. So the fact that you are not that good won't necessarily show up, but this is not interior defensive line that you write home about. It will do its job. You will, you kind of need to have some holes in your team, like it's really hard to not have. And again, we need to remind ourselves that this is the team 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were the worst team in the NFL, or one of the worst teams in the NFL. So the fact that we are not talking about like, oh my god, they have like this kind of bad tackle depth and tackle like starters, and we say like that's kind of really major problem for this team, like boy oh boy, this is really good news for the Texans, right? Why overall my rank is not necessarily like worse because of that interior is, I think this linebacker room is just another one of these. Like they are absolutely adequate. Again, like very, like there's 15 others room like this where you have good starter. Here is Aziz Al-Shair. You have decent number 2 option in Christian Harris, and you have not really exciting backups in Henry Tuato. So this is overall it's like a minus room, but compare them to like 20 other rooms in the league, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of the same as the other guys. This is a room that should not break your season. It will not help it, but especially when you have Demico as your coach, they should be okay. And there is definitely room because of Demico for these two guys specifically, because he is a former linebacker, to actually reach important starter and good starter could be what they reach during the season, which would make them an asset towards this defense. But as of right now, it's kind of math, and we will see what happens. In terms of secondary, safety room, am I excited about either one of these guys? Well, I slightly am. With Jalen Petrie, I think he played quite nicely last season. He obviously should be improving. He has a lot of talent that's been untapped on the league, or not necessarily untapped, but he needs to show it over a longer period of time for me to like consider him something better than a decent starter. But if he improves like 5% and repeats for what he's done last season, that's definitely a trajectory for him. Next to him you have Jimmy Ward, who is as of right now a better player, but you have your injury concerns with him. And that's where like drafting Kalen Bullock makes sense, because he's probably your hopeful long-term replacement for Jimmy Ward. And as of right now, a guy that if he needs to start next to Jalen Petrie, like it's not good room, but you are not necessarily having like nightmares. You are having bad dreams, you are not having nightmares, let's put it this way. So it's really quite balanced. You have your thinking towards future, and it's like slight negative, but nothing that should be like a super detriment to your season. Now let's move to cornerbacks, and we have to start with Derek Stingley Jr., who might not have reached the upsides that his draft position would suggest. As of right now, you would like him to be as that amazing starter territory by this time of his like NFL career, but he's close to that. He is good number one with still some potential. Probably never feel like he will push to that elite starter level, but top 10 corner, that's definitely out there. And in terms of other guys, they are set to start Kamal Rossiter, so they've seen enough with preseason that they are confident in him to start on the other side from Derek Stingley. With Jeff Okudah being poised to be probably a third starter, they also consider like Miles Bryant, Chris Boyd. You are not deep in this room. Let's put it this way. This is not a deep room. This is behind Derek Stingley. It's not necessarily a quality room. And combine that with safety duo / trio. Like, am I too high on this group with B-? Yeah, I think this secondary kind of when I consider them overall, I think I gave them too much benefit of the doubt. Like, yeah, this I don't feel like this is necessarily adequate. Why did I put it out there as good as it is right now? It felt like you kind of have 5 starters that you should not be worried, and Derek Stingley is that number 1 corner that you are okay to happy with. But I should knock this grade down to something like a C, with safeties being ranked more of a C and cornerbacks something like a C+. So again, when I'm putting this together, I'm revisiting it, rethinking this, and I don't necessarily want to change the grades before I show them to you guys, because this is my, let's say, initial. And when I like really went down deep and some other teams like compare this room, and I'm like, yeah, I was too, not say charitable, but I was too high on this room that I'm right now. Good thing is, this is more of how I view them, let's say week 8, because by that time I think Jalen Petrie can be a good starter, Kamal Rossiter could be a decent starter, and Derek Stingley could be an amazing starter. So in that case, I think these ranks would hold up. But given this show, what I'm trying to give you is how they are right now, this is way too high for them. So let's knock this down towards a C, with safeties being ranked C and cornerbacks C+. That's it for this roster breakdown. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with my original ranking of the secondary or more of the later one, or even if I should like move it more behind, like more towards worse grades that I've done. Let me know. And now let's talk about what this team is doing in terms of their ceiling, in terms of their floor, and how I'm viewing them in terms of their long-term chances for a Super Bowl. So, the floor for this team, I will go actually lower than I think a lot of people will expect me to. And I will say the floor is 7 wins. Why? Everybody thinks CJ Stroud is going to continue like this. And I also think that. But do I believe there is more than like 5% chance that he won't, that he actually could have second year slump? Combine that with Stephon Diggs and some of his antics actually perhaps being too much to handle for CJ Stroud. Combine that with really a lot of question marks that you have with this offensive line. And you can add, if Jimmy Ward and Derek Stingley goes down for a longer period of time, which for both of them, that's kind of something that I'm not saying you expect, but you are not going to be shocked about. That secondary is an issue. So 7 wins, I think, is a floor for this team, because they have incredible amounts of weapons, but it can be they were not necessarily a top 10 team last year. Let's face it, they were not. Like, they've ended up top 8, but over the whole period of season, they were not a top 10 team. You can have second-year slump. You have a huge problem. You can have big problems in terms of the O-line. Secondary could be a huge issue if 1 or 2 players that have injury concerns go down. Stefan Diggs could be a problem for this team. And also, your division got better. Like, Titans got better. Colts got better because they will finally have their starting QB, hopefully for them. And Jags still are kind of good. So, is it too bad if they go 3-3 within their own division? No, that could happen. And they have to play a winner's schedule. Yeah, they won the division, so it's like from having one of the easiest schedules, you are now going to really kind of tough. So you are hosting, let's go towards what they are going to play when we are not considering their own division, right? So you are hosting Chicago. Not an easy game. You are going to Minnesota. Okay, you are favorite in this one. But still, JJ, he can feast on this secondary, especially if, by some unlucky coincidence, Derek Stingley goes down. You don't necessarily have a guy to cover JJ. Then you are playing Buffalo. Okay, you are going to New England. You are going to the Green Bay, to the Jets. You are playing Detroit at home, Dallas on the road, Miami at home, Kansas City on the road, and Baltimore at home. Their schedule is really nasty. They have the Green Bay division, and beside it they have Dallas, Kansas, Baltimore, Miami, obviously Miami division, so Miami, Jets, Patriots, and Buffalo. I mean, I think 7 wins as a floor is actually my floor. This is a tough schedule. I think a lot of people, including me, wants to see this team reach their upside and fight for Super Bowl, CJ Stroud being exceptional. I want to see that. But there is some ugly potential for this team in terms of the quality of the schedule and in terms of some problems that this roster still has. Still, 7 wins is really good floor. Now let's talk about the upside, right? And I think upside for this team is 13 wins. And it's one of the biggest difference I have. And that's, it's easily because you have so many young players that the trajectory could really skyrocket, and I'm not going to be surprised. They could be owning this division. They could do that. They could go 5-0 in their own division. And that offense, if the O-line plays respectfully, which they can, I think they can play respectfully, and also they have kind of easier starter, their schedule gets tougher, which is good for the team that's young, and especially that O-line, when they click, if they click by week 5, when you up to that point you play in there on the road, Chicago at home, Minnesota on the road, Jacksonville at home, Buffalo at home, you are probably favorites in all of these games, maybe with an exception of going to the Colts. And then if your O-line starts to click, that offense could be putting 30 points on anyone easily. Not okay, easily, it could happen definitely. So 13 wins, winning this division, and being in Super Bowl conversation, I don't think they should have like bigger than 5% chance to win this year's Super Bowl this year. I think if they win division and go once again towards divisional round, that's really when I see this team being really good. So like the most probable, I would say something around 11 wins, probably winning their own division, being favored at home with that first game, winning it, and then losing on the road to someone like Chiefs or Bengals, someone like that. And as a Houston fan, I would say you should be happy with this season. Really big swing from 7 to 14. It seems like I'm covering a lot, but that's because I have some major question marks and also some reasons to believe that the hype of this team could come crashing down just a little bit, because that hype is insane. For me personally, I will be rooting for Texans. They were one of the teams that when I started watching NFL and became a Seahawks fan, JJ Watt was at Houston. He was kind of one of my favorite players outside of Seattle, so I'm not saying like I'm a fan of Houston, but I do wish them to do well. Also, they are not in our division or in our conference, so yeah, be my guest, do really, really well. And also like with D'Amico, CJ, like I think there's plenty of really good players and good people in that room to root for them. So that's all for me. This was kind of intense episode. I've really enjoyed this one because there is so much interesting things to talk about with the Texans. Please let me know what you think about my floor for this team. Do you think that I just cover way too much of my ass, or do you actually like also feel that maybe there's way too much hype for this team and everybody kind of thinks like things will go smoothly as they did last season? Thank you very much for watching or listening. See you with the next one. Bye bye.